He was born in Herne Hill, London, on September 17, 1928. Roger Andrew Anthony Jude McDowall was his full name. His life has been shaped by the stage from the beginning. Thomas was his father. He was a Marine seaman. His mom, Winifred, always wanted to be an actor but never actually did it. Therefore, she put all of her dreams in Roddy. Roddy had already won a poetry prize when he was 4 years old. Whenever he turned 5, he started taking lessons in perfect speech. His mom was set on making him shine. Murder in the Family was his first movie role, and he was only 10 years old. He had been in 16 movies before he even left Britain. He wanted to be an actress, and so did his sister Virginia. During their 4 years at Hanover Academy, they won almost every theater award. The war then started. That year, 1940, Roddy was only 12 years old, and German warplanes were bombing Britain. As part of Operation Pied Piper, a huge effort to get 1.5 million people to safety, his family ran away to America. But because of currency restrictions during the war, they only had $42 with them when they got to the U.S. Because his dad joined the service, it was up to his mom to keep the family alive. In the hopes that someone would spot Roddy, she took him to talent agencies all over New York. Hollywood saw something amazing at that time. Studios Fox were looking for a new kid star. It was Roddy's true story of running away from war and his perfect British accent that made him stand out. His demo reel went straight to Hollywood. When director William Wyler saw it, he knew right away that Roddy had something special. In his first movie in the United States, Manhunt, 1941, he played a boy who helped someone get away from the Nazis. There was a sense of belonging. Later that year, Fox put him in the movie How Green Was My Valley. In 1942, he beat out Citizen Kane to win Best Picture at the Oscars, even though he was only 13. For the movie, the company spent $110,000 making an 80-acre copy of a Welsh mining village. Construction took 6 months, and real coal blocks were brought in from Wales. Some critics said that Roddy was a great young actor who could compete with Shirley Temple. He got a deal for 7 years. His role in the 1943 movie My Friend Flicka brought in up to $2.4 million in rentals. His character was Ken, a boy who forms a bond with a wild horse. Besides learning how to ride a horse, he had to work with real animals, and one of them died while they were shooting. Fox made a follow-up movie right away in 1945 because the first one was so popular. He was loved by people all over the world. He played the young version of Gregory Peck's priest character in The Keys of the Kingdom in 1944, which gave him a bigger part. He had to act out sad scenes, like losing his parents in a storm, with a Scottish accent. He was already taking on parts with a lot of depth when he was 16. It was followed by Molly and Me in 1945. Roddy was a teen who was always sad and thought his dad hated him because he looked like his late mother. It had both comedic and dramatic parts. His part was to cry in one scene and do a funny voice in another. People loved it. Supporter mail came pouring in. His problems were seen as normal by others, just like many others did during the war. Everything wasn't easy behind the scenes, though. A lot of people thought he got a Juvenile Academy Award in 1944, which was not true. Sadly, that was given to Margaret O'Brien. Even so, Roddy was now the family's main source of income. When he was 16, he was making $2,500 a week, which is a lot of money these days. Because he worked 6 days a week, he didn't have much time for friends or a normal school life for teens. Unlike many kid stars who lost their money, his mother kept it all. However, the stress made him anxious and miss his house. People wondered if he could get away from being a kid star as he got older. The first play to show this change was Compulsion, which ran on Broadway from October 1957 to February 1958. An actual event, the killing of 14-year-old Bobby Franks in 1924, inspired the story. The young man Roddy played was Arthur Strauss, who was cold and cunning. When the movie was made in 1959, Bradford Dillman took his place, but his co-star Dean Stockwell stayed. Real-life killer Nathan Leopold even tried to stop the movie from being made, but he was not successful. Even so, Roddy's appearance on stage was a big deal. For example, in 1960's movie Midnight Lace, he had a darker part. Malcolm Stanley was his character, and he was creepy and suspicious. Not at all like the nice boy he used to play. Doris Day, who was nominated for a Golden Globe, played the lead role in the $3 million film. Roddy made every scene more tense, and people got to see a new side of him. That same year, Roddy joined the original Broadway group of Camelot as King Arthur's son Mordred, who was not his real son. For 284 shows, he played the part before someone else took over. There were a total of 873 performances of the show. His song, The Seven Deadly Virtues, became very popular. Even though there were problems behind the scenes, the show was a hit. His act got him nominated for a Tony Award and showed that he was a real star on the stage. Later, in 1963, Cleopatra caused a lot of trouble. That's Roddy as Octavius. At the time, it cost $44 million to make, which is more than $450 million today. It was the most expensive movie ever made. Fox almost lost all of its money and had to sell off land that became Century City. Roddy was there when Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton got into a scandal. The movie cost $5 million, and Taylor almost died of pneumonia while shooting. Before the work was moved to Rome, the clothes she wore alone cost $194,000. In spite of all the problems, the movie still made $57.7 million, making it the year's biggest hit. All the while, Roddy kept his cool. It took almost 3 years to finish, but he played Matthew the Apostle in the greatest story ever told in 1965. More than 100 people spoke in it, which cost $20 million. Filming took place in the American Southwest instead of the Middle East. Rich people like Max von Sydow, Charlton Heston, and Sidney Poitier were in the movie. Although it lost money and only made $15.5 million, Roddy's performance showed how much he had grown. He played Matthew as a man who thought about things and asked questions, which let him show how deep his feelings and beliefs were. A lot of artists would never go through what Roddy McDowall did. To play Cornelius, the kind chimpanzee scholar in Planet of the Apes, he had to get up at 2 a.m. every day and sit in a makeup chair for 3.5 hours. When they tried the makeup for the first time, it took up to 7 hours to put on and 3 hours to take off. To let his skin breathe, the company had to make new kinds of foam rubber because it was so intense. What she was wearing wasn't just a mask. Parts of it were missing, like ears, chin, and hair layers. He had to paint even his bottom teeth black. After months of doing this 5 days a week, it paid off. It was released in 1968 and cost $5.8 million to make. A big success. Cornelius became his most well-known part. His hard work became famous. What Roddy did next was even better. While everyone else went home, he kept filming with his 8mm camera behind the scenes. He wrote down every step of the makeup process. He caught actors laughing, riding a helicopter to the beach, and drinking through straws while putting on full ape masks. He even went through that same long makeup process in 1974 just to show his short documentary on the Carol Burnett Show for a short time. This was something only Roddy thought to remember. He wasn't even aware that he was recording history. He came back in 1971 for Escape from the Planet of the Apes, which came out on May 26, 1971. His personality changed this time. It was still about Cornelius, but it happened in Los Angeles in the 1970s. The movie looked at time travel and being persecuted. It was no longer just about motion. It had to do with feeling. Roddy had to carry that shift on his shoulders. The movie became the most praised continuation of the original series because of how well he played the part. The reviewers really liked it because it wasn't just about explosions, but also about the people. It was Roddy who did that. Roddy returned for the 1974 TV show of Planet of the Apes, but this time he played a different character named Galen. The show only had 14 episodes, but Roddy's appearance made it more interesting. He gave comments and suggestions on the work. He helped the team work faster by telling them about the long makeup process. He stayed true to the brand even though the show ended quickly and continued to protect its history in interviews and documentaries. Roddy did more than just act. Besides that, he was a very good photographer. His bold photography book, Double Exposure, came out in 1966. It had 98 famous people on 251 pages. But each star wasn't written by a reporter. Instead, it was another famous person. James Baldwin talked about Marlon Brando. Kate Hepburn wrote an article about Lauren Bacall. There was no history of that happening. Roddy became one of the most trusted shooters in Hollywood after the book sold so well. He had worked for Life and Vogue magazines since 1953. Now everyone wanted him to take their picture. Then he put out Double Exposure, Take 2 in 1989. It was darker this time. That part that shocked everyone showed Judy Garland at her worst. On the set of the Judy Garland show in 1963, Roddy was her friend. He took pictures of her when no one else could, when she was having a meltdown, crying, sick, or tired. Along with these pictures, the book had honest quotes from people who saw how the studio hurt her. Through MGM's pressure, she lost all of her health by the time she was 40. What about the pills? The drinking was all in those pictures. Roddy had seen everything firsthand. In the summer of 1965, Roddy shot a private party on the beach at his home in Malibu. It wasn't just any celebration. There was Paul Newman flipping burgers. Lauren Bacall was out in the sun without a top on. Anthony Perkins, Natalie Wood, Jane Fonda, and Rock Hudson were all there. Everybody calmed down. They consumed alcohol and smoked. And once acted normally. Natasha would chatted with a few guys while her husband wasn't around. Roddy never shared the video. He knew it would hurt people's jobs. But those 16mm clips showed us Hollywood in a way we had never seen it before. It was real, raw, and personal. A terrible accident happened to Montgomery Clift in 1956 as he was leaving Elizabeth Taylor's house after a dinner party. After hitting a phone pole, he almost died. His nose, cheekbones, and mouth were all broken. There was a lot of damage done to his face after the surgery. A few weeks after the accident, Roddy, who had become his best friend, began taking pictures of him. The pictures showed him practicing his smile again by looking at himself in the mirror. While Clift was still living, he never put them out in print. This person wanted to keep his friend safe. But in a quiet way, those pictures showed how hard fame is and how much pressure there is to stay perfect. Roddy's album Double Exposure, Take 4 came out in 1993. This book told about his friendship with Elizabeth Taylor for 50 years. It was all out in the open. Her drugs, her weight problems, and her marriages. She told him, "I own someone, I love them." That's what she said about Richard Burton. Those pictures broke my heart. It showed her without makeup in one and crying after getting divorced in another. A picture she had taken of Roddy was in the book as a sign of how much she trusted him. They became friends after meeting as child players in 1943 and stayed friends until he died. Roddy called Elizabeth every day to see how she was doing. It was safe for her with him. Her old private tapes, which are now part of HBO's Elizabeth, The Lost Tapes, even have his voice in the background. In 1998, when he was dying of cancer, Elizabeth went back to Los Angeles and spent every day with him until the end. After he died, she held a small vigil at her house. In 1957, a fake story in Confidential magazine almost brought down Maureen O'Hara. In the back of a theater, they said she did bad things, but Roddy stood by her. In 1941, they were both in the movie How Green Was My Valley, which is how he met her. While she was in court, he took pictures of her and stayed close while her brother showed she hadn't been in the country at all. The case changed things. It helped shut down the magazine that hurt a lot of good people. Rock Hudson and Tab Hunter, who were hiding their identities, were finally able to be themselves at Roddy's secret Malibu parties. They had fun, told each other secrets, and felt safe. To keep track of who they really were, away from the lies and masks Hollywood made them wear, Roddy filmed some of it. He didn't do it to cause trouble. There was also Judy Garland's return in A Star Is Born. For 1954, $5 million was a lot of money. The company did cut 27 minutes, though, without the director's permission. Garland's career was ruined forever by that choice, which ruined her hopes of winning an Oscar. Everything Roddy saw. He took pictures of her crying, fighting, and pain. People now think that movie is a gem. When it happened, it almost broke her. It was caught by Roddy, since he never turned away from the truth. He was more than just a movie star, Roddy McDowall. His own private collection of movies was something that not even big companies had by the early 1970s. His movie collection had grown to 337 titles by 1974. 160mm pictures, which were very rare, made up the bulk of his collection. He kept movies in his North Hollywood basement, including Citizen Kane, Lassie Come Home, and My Friend Flicka. A lot of them were bought directly from the studios, which were getting rid of old film spools to make room. Even buying Errol Flynn's unfinished films and home movies from Flynn's wife, Roddy made a lot of money. It cost him a lot of money to put them on Sony Yamatic magnetic tape. He thought tape would last longer than film, so it came out before VHS and Betamax. Roddy didn't start collecting to get paid. For his friends, he only charged what he remembered paying. He once said that he bought 3 movies for exactly $705. He didn't just store things in his garage. It was like a small collection of old movies. All of that changed on December 18th, 1974, though. That day, officers and trucks from the FBI showed up. When they broke into Roddy's house, they took 160 film reels and more than 1,000 videotapes. The government said that the whole hoard was worth $5,500,426. It was the FBI's biggest raid on movie thieves ever. His own movies, like Planet of the Apes, Tam Lin, and Lassie Come Home, were copied by the agencies. The tapes were put in boxes with labels and saved forever, like valuable artifacts. Meanwhile, the government was making a case that Roddy wasn't just gathering evidence. He was secretly copying and giving away movies. Roddy knew things were getting dangerous. He picked to help instead of fight. It was names he gave the FBI. He told them that James Dean's movie Giant had been given to him by Rock Hudson. He also named Dick Martin, Mel Torme, and Arthur P. Jacobs from the Planet of the Apes movies. The government records left out some names. Surprised people. One other collector said that Roddy was very sad when he lost his movies, but it hurt even more when he let his friends down. Even Robert Osborne, a well-known writer and close friend of Roddy's, said years later that he didn't know Roddy had helped. Rock Hudson never talked about it if he ever found out. The way it all began made it even more painful. Roddy started gathering things in the 1960s, but not as a pirate. He did it to keep things safe. Studios were getting rid of old movies that they didn't think were worth anything. Roddy thought that these movies should be kept alive. He wasn't looking to make money. He said having copies helped him learn how to act. Keeping a picture of his death scene from Escape from the Planet of the Apes helped him get better at what he did. Legally, it didn't matter. He broke the law when he shared or sold tapes to other users, even if he got paid for them. His lawyer later told him that Roddy didn't really own a lot of the copies. Fox and some other companies still did. By June 1975, the government had given up on the case. Roddy wasn't picked up. No court case and no jail time. Nevertheless, the harm was finished. He quit having movie nights. Some buddies never came back. His name would always be linked to the raid, even though he was cleared. In order to move on, he helped protect movies legally. Afterward, he helped make the National Film Preservation Board after joining the Academy's board. He even helped fix up Cleopatra from 1963 in the 1990s. For what started as a private desire, it turned into a public alert. When you save something, you're not really stealing it. The majority of people did not know about another part of Roddy's biography. Elizabeth Taylor put him in touch with Montgomery Clift in 1951. The two men fell in love very deeply. For him, Roddy even moved to New York. Roddy didn't do much acting for 2.5 years. His only concern was Montgomery. Things didn't work out in the end. Clift's plan to end things broke Roddy's heart. He attempted to end his own existence. He lived, and it's amazing that he never blamed Clift for what happened. Right up until the end, he stayed by his side. Later, they worked together in Clift's last movie, The Defector. Roddy helped Clift finish something he once said he could never have done on his own. At the time Roddy lived in, being gay in Hollywood could ruin your career. Back in the 1950s, tabloids like Confidential were all over the news for revealing stars. Rock Hudson almost came clean. Agent Henry Wilson was in charge of a lot of gay artists. To keep some clients safe, he told others about other clients' secrets. Police officers who weren't on duty were even used to scare away people who wanted to blackmail him. Roddy decided to be quiet in public, but he made a safe place for himself when no one was around. Celebrities, both gay and straight, could go to his house and feel safe. He was known as the father confessor of Hollywood because he kept people's secrets safe. Despite knowing everything, he didn't tell anyone. Roddy bought a house on the beach in Malibu in 1965. He recorded private events at which famous people showed up without clothes or protection. There is video of Paul Newman, Lauren Bacall, Jane Fonda, and Julie Andrews walking on the beach with their daughter. Other stars are seen just relaxing in the sun. These weren't scenes from a movie. It was a real time of friendship. Additionally, he posed for pictures with Tab Hunter, another actor who wasn't out in public cooking hot dogs and acting like they were dating. While fun, it was also dangerous. Both of their careers might have ended if the companies had seen those pictures. He only made one movie in his whole life. A scary old Scottish tale inspired the name Tam Lin. His first movie came out in 1967, starring Ava Gardner. It had weird, trippy scenes that were right out of the 1960s. But the company that made the movie went out of business before it could come out. 3 years went by while it was on the shelf. It had been cut up and changed before it came out in 1970. Others called it The Devil's Widow and Toys and Games. The movie received poor reviews. Roddy didn't direct anything else. Martin Scorsese helped bring back the original cut in 1998, which is when critics finally got to see what Roddy had been trying to make. They stated that it was a lost gem. That night, it was too late. One of Roddy's most important parts was in 1985. In the TV show Fright Night, he played Peter Vincent, a vampire hunter whose show is canceled because no one wants to see vampire killers anyway. Many things about Roddy's life were reflected in the part. He was down because he had just been fired from a real horror show. The movie shows him fighting real vampires. People really liked the movie, and it made $24.9 million on its opening weekend. Young people who liked scary movies loved him, and for a while, it felt like he was back. Interestingly, he missed being in Beneath the Planet of the Apes because he was busy directing Tam Lin. His absence from that movie was the only one involving apes. He left behind something very special when he died on October 3rd, 1998. His personal journals, letters, and home videos had been saved for many years. Iswell said that they could not be opened until 2098, which is 100 years after he died. He gave them to Boston University. That surprised everyone. Lawyers say the items inside must be dangerous. Sealing something for that long is only done to keep people safe. Some people think the diaries show relationships, names, and secrets that the public was never meant to know. Roddy wrote in his notes that the archive supposedly has proof of Elizabeth Taylor's abusive marriage to Eddie Fisher. There may also be letters about how the entertainment business hid the fact that Rock Hudson had AIDS. Murray Hudson died in 1985, but Roddy had known him for a long time and knew the truth before anyone else. Besides that, he had home movies of Judy Garland at private parties when she was having a drug-related breakdown, as well as records of very private times with stars like Paul Newman, Natalie Wood, and Anthony Perkins. Some people who are close to Roddy think there is one note in his diary, a page that talks about how he tried to kill himself after Montgomery Clift broke up with him. That post and hundreds more like it are locked away in an archive that no one can read. So far, not yet. But the whole world will know for sure in 2098. In the meantime, Roddy McDowall will always be remembered as one of the most interesting, mysterious, and loyal people in Hollywood history.